Hello, basketball people, we have news. Let's go to more news about the Golden State Warriors. I ask you to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I am a Warriors fan. Is Nikola Vucevic the center that will solve the Warriors' problems? The Golden State Warriors and Chicago Bulls could link up for a deal this summer. The Golden State Warriors have several roster issues they have to fix before returning to being a contender in 2025-26. An off-season blockbuster deal will always offer an opportunity to do just that. One of the glaring needs on this roster will be for the Warriors to address the frontcourt situation. Forcing Draymond Green to be the full-time starting five is not a formula that will be sustainable for an entire campaign. Luckily for the Warriors, there should be plenty of teams this offseason who are ready to part with their centers. One of those teams will be the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls have been rumored to be eyeing an opportunity to offload Nikola Vucevic for quite some time. The Warriors could be the team to finally allow that to happen if today's trade idea materializes. Andy Bailey of Bleacher Report suggested the Bulls and Warriors come together on a trade that would allow both franchises to go in their desired direction as a result. The following trade idea was the one proposed by the NBA writer. Warriors receive Nikola Vucevic, 45th overall pick, 2025-2028 second-round pick. Bulls receive Moses Moody and Buddy Hield. Parting with Moody and Hield would certainly involve sacrificing two productive members of the Warriors' rotation from 2024 to 25. However, it would not be a steep price to pay for a former All-Star. Vucevic was still very productive in this year's campaign. The Bulls center averaged 18.5 points, 10.1 rebounds, 0.8 steals, and 0.7 blocks, while shooting 53-40-81 in 31.2 minutes per game. The ability to stretch the court offensively by Vucevic should offer an element to the Warriors' offense that was quite intriguing when provided by Quinton Post this past season. The Bulls center is much more adept in other areas to boot. Warriors urged to pursue former number 1 pick, 3-time All-Star in free agency. The NBA offseason is right around the corner, and while superstars Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kevin Durant are the headliners entering the summer due to trade rumors, there are also some key free agents for teams to sign. One team that could end up being extremely active in both free agency and the trade market this summer is the Golden State Warriors after their second-round exit in the playoffs. Golden State looked like a contender during the second half of the season after they acquired Jimmy Butler from the Miami Heat to pair with Stephen Curry and Draymond Green, but they are still a few pieces away from having a championship roster. While many have urged the Warriors to try and add another star this offseason like Giannis or upgrade their center position with either Naz Reid or Nikola Vucevic, one writer has urged them to take a chance on a former first overall pick. Sports Illustrated's Ben Stinar recently urged the Warriors to sign former top pick and 3-time All-Star Ben Simmons this summer in free agency. The Warriors could use more size, rebounding and playmaking, which are things that Simmons can still do well, Stinar wrote. This is an interesting take by Stinar, but one that could make sense for the Warriors, especially if they were able to land Simmons on a cheap contract this offseason. Of course, Simmons is no longer the star player that he was early on in his career with the Philadelphia 76ers, but he was able to show flashes last season with the Los Angeles Clippers as being a key player off the bench. Simmons is a great defender and playmaker who could not only back up Curry at the point guard position but also give Golden State more size down low as a potential backup to Green. Because of this, Simmons could be a key piece off the bench for the Warriors if they elect to target him this summer, especially if they are able to save some salary on his contract to go after other players to upgrade their roster. Suns' untenable disaster could give Warriors shock free agency opportunity. This could be huge. The Golden State Warriors need to inject more scoring and shot creation beyond Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler this offseason, and what better way to do that than acquiring a 3x All-Star on a cheap contract who's averaged over 21 points for his career. While that may seem like a dream on paper, it could become reality based on the latest reports surrounding Bradley Beal's future with the Phoenix Suns. After a disastrous season in which they missed the playoffs, the Suns could be looking to move on more than just Kevin Durant, as Beal's situation with the franchise appears to be nearing untenable. The Warriors should look at Bradley Beal if he becomes a free agent. For not the first time in recent months, John Gambadoro of Arizona Sports Radio reiterated on Thursday that the Suns do not want Beal back after what's been calamitous 2 years with the team. However, given Beal has 2 years and over $110 million left on his contract, moving on from the 31-year-old is still far more easier said than done. Speculation continues to mount that the Suns could look at an historic buyout agreement with Beal, which would ultimately allow him to become a free agent and sign with a team of his choosing. For all the negativity surrounding the veteran guard in recent times, much of that simply stems from the exorbitant contract he initially signed with the Washington Wizards in 2022. Acquiring Beal on a far cheaper contract changes the complexion, with the former third overall pick still a capable scorer that could inject creativity to the Warriors or a number of other teams around the league. Beal averaged 17.0 points, 3.3 rebounds, and 3.7 assists in Phoenix this season, shooting an efficient 49.7% from the floor and 38.6% from three-point range. Those are still healthy numbers that would make Beal an upgrade over Buddy Hield in a sixth-man role, or even a potential starter next to Curry in the backcourt. It became evident during the second-round series loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves that Golden State simply need more guys who can dribble, pass, and shoot, all of which are elements Beal can still bring to a high level. The Suns may be prioritizing Durant's future before they truly focus on Beal, but if a buyout does indeed take place, then the Warriors should be right there to capitalize on the mismanagement of their Pacific rival. Warriors' biggest roster need could be filled by surprise free agency target. This might be an underrated option. Given their dire need for more size and shooting, the Golden State Warriors have been linked to almost every stretch big that may become available this offseason. The latest one hasn't drawn many headlines, yet remains an intriguing free agent option for the Warriors to consider. Sandro Mamukelashvili appeared in a career-high 61 games with the San Antonio Spurs this season, having begun to develop into a bona fide NBA rotation player. Sandro Mamukelashvili could be an underrated signing for the Warriors. The 6 feet 11 inches big man also averaged a career-high 2.6 three-point attempts per game this season, including producing a notable night in March when he broke NBA history to become the first player ever to score 34 points in less than 20 minutes of game time. That outing against the New York Knicks saw Mamukelashvili shoot 13 of 14 from the floor and a perfect 7 of 7 from three-point range, while it was one of his 11 games of double-digit scoring over the last 18 games of the season. Looking at the state of the Warriors and previewing their offseason on the Game Theory podcast, Sam Vecenie of The Athletic proposed Mamukelashvili as a potential target given the 26-year-old will be an unrestricted free agent. Can they go and get Sandro Mamukelashvili? Like, I actually don't mind Sandro minutes. I think they're interesting from time to time. Maybe it's something like that, you're big who can space it or a forward that can space it, Vecenie said. While he may not be as high profile as other free agent and trade options that Golden State have been linked to, Mamukelashvili could equally prove effective in addressing the need for shooting in the front court. The Georgian international averaged 6.3 points and 3.1 rebounds in 11.2 minutes with the Spurs this season, shooting 37.3% from three-point range. The biggest issue is that while Mamukelashvili does stand at 6 feet 11 inches, he's hardly the starting caliber center that the Warriors could pair with Draymond Green. That means Golden State would need to look at additional options as well, and perhaps more proven experienced options like Brook Lopez or Kristaps Porzingis. That's not to say Mamukelashvili wouldn't be a solid acquisition, but probably more so as a bench role player who would offer some versatility as a power forward in bigger lineups or as a five-out center. After returning to San Antonio as a free agent last offseason, perhaps Mamukelashvili could have his head turned by the Warriors or another team this time around with the promise of more playing opportunity. Warriors will grant Brandon Podziemski his wish if surging offseason rumors ring true. Golden State appear comfortable with their backcourt. The Golden State Warriors season may have come to an end less than a month ago, but Brandon Podziemski has already switched gears to next season and beyond with some major aspirations in mind. During a recent episode of Up and Adams with Kay Adams, Podziemski reiterated his desire to become an all-star in the NBA and be part of Team USA's Olympic campaign in 2028. Clearly those goals will not only come down to the young guard's own development, but how exactly the Warriors view him within their rotation. The Warriors are likely to continue granting Brandon Podziemski a starting role. The idea of stardom has been a primary goal for Jonathan Kuminga over recent years, yet those aspirations have been restricted by limited and inconsistent playing time under Steve Kerr. It appears that won't be an issue for Podziemski, at least not based on the reports and speculation surrounding what the Warriors will be chasing in the offseason. In the immediate aftermath of Golden State's elimination, ESPN's Shams Charania reported that Mike Dunleavy Jr. and the front office would be on the hunt for a playmaking wing defender or a center after Draymond Green was asked to carry a heavy workload over the second half of the season. The Warriors have already been linked to a number of potential big men options in recent weeks, including veteran free agent Brook Lopez, along with Kristaps Porzingis as a plausible trade target given the Boston Celtics are facing payroll issues. If Golden State are focusing more on the front court than the back court, which they should be, then that suggests they're comfortable with Podziemski retaining a prominent role within the rotation and most likely as a starter. The 22-year-old started all but one of his final 36 combined regular season and playoff games, having made just 10 starts prior to that. There's no indication to suggest they're looking to make a change in the backcourt, albeit it's not impossible to foresee a change being made. Should the Warriors empower Podziemski in a starting role playing 30-plus minutes, then at the very least he'll have the opportunity to develop into the all-star level player he envisages. Whether he can ever reach that level remains to be seen, but needless to say it would be a huge development in the team's fortunes and hopes of title contention. After a slow start to his second season, Podziemski enjoyed a strong finish to the regular season where he eventually ended up averaging 11.7 points, 5.1 rebounds, and 3.4 assists on 44.5% shooting from the floor and 37.2% from three-point range. Warriors' biggest issue will hold franchise back from another championship. A clash in management could mean a disappointing end. As the Golden State Warriors attempt to maximize the final years of superstar Stephen Curry's career, the organization has made clear that they are willing to take bold, risky moves in order to give the roster the talent it needs. However, as they attempt to solidify their roster this offseason, they are stuck at somewhat of a crossroads. Players chosen and liked by team owner Joe Lacob have routinely clashed with head coach Steve Kerr's system, causing a lack of development of young players on an aging team. While this problem has immediate repercussions, especially in the case of the restricted free agency of Jonathan Kuminga, it will also certainly have future implications as players such as Curry and Draymond Green finalize their playing careers. The Warriors need young talent, but haven't developed it. As the Warriors soared back into contention last season off the strength of their acquisition of Jimmy Butler, the team seemed unbeatable for a stretch of the regular season. However, in the playoffs, when injuries struck Butler and Curry, the age of the team's core showed, and, when Golden State most needed their young talent to step up, it seemed as though no one was able to do so. Kuminga, who averaged 20.8 points through 5 games in the Houston series, was doing so primarily as a tryout for other organizations. As a result of Steve Kerr's, perhaps rightful, refusal to play Kuminga in the role he envisions for himself and which Lacob encouraged by allowing the organization to draft him 7th overall in 2021, Kuminga is likely looking to move on this offseason. Moreover, a player like James Wiseman, had he developed into what he was thought to be prior to his entering the NBA, would be the exact rim-protecting, perimeter-shooting big man that the Warriors need so desperately right now. However, when injuries derailed his career, Wiseman was shipped off, and the front office's push to draft Wiseman ultimately proved a failure. Throughout his short career in Golden State, Kerr mostly limited Wiseman's minutes as a result of the player's poor defense. Now, as the Warriors attempt to contend for another championship, they desperately need young talent to surround their aging core. While they have players such as Brandon Podziemski, Moses Moody and Quinton Post who are developing nicely, the real young stars, the high draft picks that they needed to hit on, have not panned out. As a result, Golden State is in a tricky spot. They, largely, do not have the young talent needed to deal for another star right now, and they do not have the young talent to expect to compete quickly past their current championship window. While it is uncertain how much blame is to be placed on either Kerr or the organization's front office, one thing is certain: the results of a recurring problem are evident.